Hey guys, Matt. I am human again. Not cured, but human. My voice probably sounds better. This is going to be a reading of chapter 17, A Reality Few Can See. And I'm just going to talk through the opening. So this is going to be about a 1 minute lead-in, but essentially I am presenting the idea in the book here, but just talking it out instead of reading it like a robot. What might be fun, there's not too many parts of this book where you can grab somebody around you and sit them down in front of one of these chapters and they won't think you're completely a lunatic. This might be fun to do. This section, the entire section over the next few chapters, exposes that things that we take for granted as the pillars of life in America. Well, everybody must know what the Statue of Liberty is. The pillars of our foundation of what the American experience is all about. Of course, I break down every one. We know nothing about these things. Our entire existence is a lie. I already did the Titanic. I did that because that fun exercise of the Titanic was needed a few weeks ago, so people didn't get bored and abandon the book. But the ultimate one is the Statue of Liberty that I'm about to do. And I'll try to kind of customize it a bit, just in case anybody grabs their boyfriend or girlfriend, throws them down in front of this video, and I'll prove to them that everything they know about the Statue of Liberty is a lie. And the point would be, and the point of this entire section is, how is that possible? How could something like the Statue of Liberty, which should be the absolute first grade foundation of what every kindergartner should know in this country, how is it possible we don't know a damn thing about it? Well, that just leads one to consider we don't know a damn thing about anything we're presented. Here we go. Actually, guys, one more thing. If my conclusion presented here of what the Statue of Liberty really is not what you believe it is, don't get upset at me too quickly. I do present the other possibilities. Although I don't believe that's the case, I do present the other possibilities at the end. I don't want to throw those other possibilities in the face of somebody new to this. You can imagine they'd go running and screaming away from the chapter inside the first 30 seconds. So just hear me out. Wait till the end before you get upset at me if my conclusion is not exactly yours. Let's start our reality breakdown with what should be the most basic of all American questions. Anybody should know the greatest icon in the country's history, the Statue of Liberty, right? Everybody knows all about it. You'll soon find you know nothing of her real history, and what you think you know will be wrong. Again, you will not be misremembering. You were never told this stuff. It's not like the teacher forgot to tell you. The teacher didn't know. Please understand the full ramifications of what failing this test means to your reality. The Statue of Liberty lie. What is the Statue of Liberty? Pause this video now for anybody new to write down the 2, 3, 4 things that you know about the Statue of Liberty. I think YouTube now, the pause is the K button. If you want to pause it, go ahead. Almost everybody gives the same canned responses from the script they've been fed their entire lives. The Statue of Liberty, it was a gift from France. A gift. She represents the value of freedom that America holds, especially in attracting immigrants from around the world, fleeing prosecution. The really smart people who aced elementary school may be even able to tell us about how the statue's construction was inspired by the end of slavery. About 1 in 100 people will tie that topic into the chains that are shown around her feet, chains that most people don't even know are there. While that could give you an A in 9th grade history class, what people really know about what the statue is entirely false. Yeah, what you know is all bullshit. You were misled. The truth was hidden on purpose. It was not a gift from France. The Statue of Liberty was constructed by French Freemasons who first intended it to stand in Egypt's port of Said. When the Egyptians refused it because it meant having to pay millions of dollars to construct the base, America was looked at as the second choice. Now let that sink in for just a moment. America was the second choice, the contingency plan for the Statue of Liberty. Not much different than a backup prom date for a horny senior whose original date says she's saving herself. If you're thinking, how come I never heard that before? Well, you get an A. That's the whole point of this section. That's the point of not just the Statue of Liberty piece here, every other piece for several chapters following. The millions of dollars needed to build the base was, in fact, raised in America. The story about a special gift from the French government to Americans to serve as a beacon of freedom is an absolute fairy tale. The French government had almost nothing to do with the Statue of Liberty. Let's stay on the first thing that people will vomit out when regurgitating the Statue of Liberty's scripted story. It was a gift from France. Well, what's a gift in your definition? What's a gift? When your grandmother gave you a $20 sweater on your birthday, did she immediately ask for $12 back before she gave it to you? Much of the funds had to be raised in America. That's no gift. We've all been led to believe it was a gift from one government to another. The construction was private, organized by French Freemasons. You know, on TV when they offer a gift, just pay $19 shipping and handling. Then it ain't a free gift, is it, when you have to pay $19 shipping and handling? That's basically what the French Freemasons did to the American Freemasons. I don't know if their people had much of a say either way. Of course they didn't. The millions of times teachers in this country told their fourth graders it was a gift from France, they were all wrong. Forget about the construction and funding for now. Wait till you see what the Green Goblin really represents. So what is that massive green giant in flowing Roman robes raising a deodorant-free armpit to the world? What is that thing looking out beyond New York City? Well, everybody on the street would say, "That's Lady Liberty, you dope," without even realizing how ignorant that answer is. I would say to them, well, who the hell's Lady Liberty? That means nothing on its own. It's just some made-up lady then? What are her mythological roots in history? Name one statue of a person over 6 feet tall in this country that is no one or nothing in particular. Imagine a park ranger conducting a tour around Valley Forge Park. They approach a giant bronze statue of a general on a horse with one leg raised upon a cemented pedestal. A kid in the crowd asks the ranger, "Well, who's that, sir?" "Well, it's no one in particular, son," responds the ranger. "He just represents a military man of no particular rank or no particular era." Perhaps the sculptor of the Statue of Liberty, in an attempt to save some money, asked a homeless person living along the Seine River in Paris to be his model by holding up a newspaper rolled into a torch for the sketch artist. This Lady Liberty is no one in particular then? Just some ugly woman with a big Roman nose and a man's face meant to generally symbolize opportunity? You can see that makes no sense. As with most things in this world, just a few rounds of critical questioning immediately exposes the bullcrap society has been feeding us. Again, go find a large statue of a man or a woman in this country, and it will be of something very specific. It won't be a general, vague concept. Okay? What the Statue of Liberty is very specific. But it's specific to those who constructed it for their own purposes. The vague bullcrap was given to all of us. Let's continue with what most people think they know. Most people would say she wears a crown. That's entirely false. The 7 points on her head depict rays of the sun, as if one is standing on the ground and looking up at her face, with the sun directly behind the statue's head. Think about that. How strange. Why would the sculpture of the statue put sun rays over the head? And since you can't hover a giant metal sun over her head with rebar supports, the sun rays end up looking like a crown. Why don't other sculptors then, say, the sculptor of The Thinker or the Martin Luther King Jr. statue in New York, think they need to erect a sun over their statues? Isn't a statue just standing in the sun enough? Say on a nice, pretty blue day? Why was it so important to put the sun over the statue in the first place? The reason becomes obvious. The sun itself is instrumental to the message conveyed by the statue. It's not about depicting a sunny day for the statue. It's something 1,000 times more significant to the sculptor. Sun worship is a major theme of the statue. The very goal is to connect her and others to the sun. Pause this section if you want to research one of the 7 ancient wonders of the world called the Colossus at Rhodes. In 292 BC, the Colossus at Rhodes, Rhodes, was a depiction of the sun god Apollo, or Helios. Do you think it's just a coincidence that the sun god wears the same exact crown as the Statue of Liberty, which going forward I will abbreviate as SOL, which actually means sun in Spanish and other languages, sol? Helios, the Colossus at Rhodes, also holds a torch in a raised arm, but often the torch is not depicted in all paintings, just the raised arm, because the torch had crumbled or disintegrated many years before. Look, the torch was simply, in the Colossus of Rhodes, the torch was simply not present during the time of some artist's rendering of it. But Helios does have a raised arm and a lit or illuminated torch, exactly like the Statue of Liberty does, or Sol, Statue of Liberty, means sun. Where this is going should be pretty clear. If the SOL is in any way meant to mimic the Colossus at Rhodes, then SOL is a pagan sun god holding up the light of illumination above the masses. This is not a stretch. This is simply what he or she is. Did he just say he or she? Yeah, I'll get to that. But for now, amazingly, many people new to these types of conspiracies will still argue that nothing here can be correct, while at the same time they'll admit that they didn't know any of the facts I just presented, like the crown actually being sun rays. If you didn't know any of the facts I just presented, then it's not sane to argue with me that the old fairy tale of this is just Lady Liberty and it's a gift from France, it's insane to keep that mantra up if you didn't know any of the facts about what the Statue of Liberty really is. How about the fact that the United States wasn't even the intended location? They wanted to put it at the port of Said in Egypt. That right there, you can throw everything you know about it out the window. And then hopefully people start to question that something else is going on here. Let's pause for a moment and go back to her construction. If the story is as they say it is, why would a private group in France go through unimaginable time, expense, and effort to construct the world's largest statue for the benefit of a group of people halfway around the world they supposedly didn't even like very much, and who really didn't like them? For some reason, Americans started hating the French the moment Lord Cornwallis surrendered. The private group in France wouldn't have gone through all of that for the reasons we're told. The simpleton reasons. We want to give America Lady Liberty. No, of course it's something else. Remember, they first offered it to Egypt. They were honoring, or their intention was to honor their own sun god, and they simply wanted it displayed in a prominent place like the Suez Canal location of Egypt, the port of Said, wherever the hell that is. They certainly got their wish, now that it stands in New York. The offer to Egypt, which was the initial offer, that throws everything you've ever been told about the Statue of Liberty out the window. Now let's pause again and try to be as open-minded as we possibly can be, knowing that it normally takes years of hard work to put aside all the lies, false constructs, and dogmas meant to mold you in a certain way as a good little citizen in the United States. It takes years to be able to grasp these concepts. I'm going to ask you to do it right now for anybody new listening to this. The critical thinking ability of the average American is basically like a lawnmower that's been left out in the rain and snow all winter long. It doesn't start up very easily, so I'll do my best here. But answer me this. Why is the statue's face clearly a man's face? Put aside what you believe to be a dress, which is simply flowing Roman robes worn by the scholars of ancient Rome. Put this book down and go online right now and stare at the face from multiple angles using multiple pictures, Google Images. Go ahead, do it now. When examining the face, block out what you believed in the past to be a crown, a woman's crown, or some dummies have even said a lady's tiara, like the lost artifact of Ravenclaw. No, it's sun rays. Block out the hair, which is neither a man's hair nor a woman's, by the way. In fact, if you look at the wigs the colonial elite like George Washington wore, and even what certain London judges wear today, the hair is closely a match to those types of wigs, the symbol of nobility, than what should be the long, flowing hair of a woman. Guess what? Women had long hair 150 years ago. If this is Lady Liberty, where's her long hair? Now, people will tend to agree it looks like a man's face, but they'll come up with every excuse in the world as to why it's a woman. Mostly centered around how sculpting the face of a gargantuan metal statue is extremely difficult, and everything that size just ends up looking like a man. No. However, we see perfect detail in the face of Mount Rushmore. Perfect detail. And that's carved in stone, many times more difficult to get right. Look at the ancient marble and granite statues of Venus or Aphrodite. Yes, master sculptors going back thousands of years can make a woman's face look like a woman. Unlike the perfection of Mount Rushmore, where they had to make it look exactly like the real figures, it's not like the person that did Mount Rushmore just, here's George Washington, it looks mostly like Bart Simpson, but this is the best we can do in rock and stone, so we're going to go with it. No, it had to be exact. Now think of the Statue of Liberty. The SOL's face isn't meant to mimic a real person. So all they had to do was make the face look like a woman's face. Any woman's face. And they couldn't even do that? You really buying that? Look at the face. Look at her nose. It's a gigantic, masculine Roman nose. Now, if you were trying to do Lady Liberty, why on earth would the sculptor do that? Or the master builder would say to his sculptors, this nose is coming out 16 feet. Have you ever noticed a woman's nose is a little more subtle than a man's? Cut that thing down. It would have been done. It's a man, people. I know anybody knew. There's just no way you're going to get your head around what I'm saying. But you're going to continue to have to play games with the facts to continue to hold on to your belief set. Throw out your belief set. Let's regroup for a moment. Look at all the ties to the sun. It's not a crown, it's sun rays over her head. No sculptor in the world thinks they have to build a sun over their sculpture unless the sun itself is instrumental to the very meaning of what the thing is. You have Statue of Liberty. SOL means sun. The raised light of illumination, the sun. And you have a man's face. Now, because you have a man's face, with all those other references to the sun, many smart people believe this is the sun god himself, Helios, Apollo, just as he appeared in Rhodes. There are other interpretations, two other main interpretations of what the Statue of Liberty may be that I'll touch on at the end. But the main point here for right now is this Lady Liberty story is a dumbed down story, a fairy tale for the masses, the profane. The giant green man in a dress is all about sun worship. And once people see that and realize that not one high school, not one college, not one news program has ever mentioned that in the history of the United States, one wonders what other things we haven't been told. Let's get back into the details. Some people will point to the long dress-like robe and the hint of breasts to prove to people it's a woman. Well, I have nipples. Your author has nipples. Am I a woman? Can you milk me, Greg? Phil Mickelson had breasts the last time he lost the U.S. Open when he had a chance to win. Is he a woman? Oh boy, there's a tranny channel that's just dying to comment. Look, if you were planning on cooking up some unsubstantiated story about some vague Lady Liberty to hide the monster you're really putting out in the harbor, don't you think you would need to design something in the statue or the sculpture or the design, something that could be interpreted differently on both sides? Something that you and your buddies could see clearly, but when you feed the bullshit story to the masses, they'll see something else? How far do you think they could go and still pass it off as Lady Liberty? Could they sculpt some shirtless upper body of something like Arnold Schwarzenegger holding a giant sword? No, then the Lady Liberty story doesn't really work anymore, does it? They started with a man. They threw on some Roman robes so people will call it a dress. They put some locks in the hair, and they call it woman's hair when it's not long, flowing woman's hair. They put some bumps around the chest so the profane can call it breasts, just enough hidden in the robe so nobody can really tell. It also screams dual gender, doesn't it? Old Levi, who drew the Baphomet, would be very proud, wouldn't he? This is all by design, in my opinion. You show both sides what it wants to see. There's just enough sun god there for the secret societies or whoever constructed it to be very happy with the product of their work. And there's enough woman there, so the bullcrap story of Lady Liberty will be believed by the script zombies visiting on tour boats. Part of what those who constructed it get off on is fooling people. It's not just that they're trying to keep this hidden secret away from the people, and they're so concerned if the people catch on to it. They get off on fooling the people. That's what they've always done. Now, anybody new that was sat down to watch or listen to this video is really having a major case of cognitive dissonance right now. Little bit of my constructed worldview is breaking down. This is not comfortable. But look, anybody objecting to what I'm saying, it's not like you're objecting to the facts. That's not possible. You're objecting because it kind of breaks down the fairy tale story of everything we've been told as an American. But all anybody will be able to come up with, even if they're very, very hostile towards what I'm saying, is they can just pull out of their ass, that can't be true. They won't have any evidence to back that genius comment up. We're all duped. Whoever's listening, we've all been duped. Lady Liberty's a fairy tale crafted for your second grade history class. Pretend you and I are Billy Madison. To them, the initiated and the elite, the statue is something else entirely, like I just showed you. Most things in this world work the same exact way. It's not just isolated to the statue. I hate to tell you. There's the dumbed down story that we're all told in Time magazine about almost anything. And there's the real meaning that's only understood by the people who run things. The SOL is a god built for them. When done, all they have to do is cook up some bullshit story about Lady Liberty so you don't stick your nose where it doesn't belong like those meddling kids in the Mystery Machine van. Still not convinced. Some people will not be. Remember, SOL means sun. It's hard to do this generally in a few more paragraphs when it should be an entire book, but I'll close with the last piece of evidence that seals the case. Not like it's not already sealed. Of course, you've heard parts of the famous poem written by Emma Lazarus transcribed at the base of the Statue of Liberty. We've all heard this. Bring me your tired, your poor, huddled masses, yearning to be free, yearning for free Taco Bell if the Flyers beat the Devils tomorrow night. Do you know what the name of that poem is? Most people don't know the name of it, even though they know the poem very well. It's called The New Colossus. It's the final nail that the Statue of Liberty is simply a more recent manifestation of the Colossus at Rhodes, the Greek god Apollo or Helios of the sun. Side note, it is amazing to me how people say that my interpretation, although there are others, and I'll talk about of what the Statue of Liberty is, they'll tell me the leading interpretation is not Helios or the sun god, when right at the bottom the poem is called The New Colossus, and it's an exact match of the pose of the Colossus at Rhodes. How could this not be the leading choice as to what the Statue of Liberty really represents? But it's all occult, it's all esoteric. We, the smelly profane, will never exactly understand their intentions. We can just get close, like the meddling kids in the Mystery Machine van. I wonder how the tens of millions of Christians in the United States feel about having a sun god as the welcome ambassador of the United States. Of course, they simply don't have any clue of what she is or what she or he represents. This is just one of 1,000 things they think they understand about the country in which they live, but don't have the first clue about. The cocoon of ignorance is oh so comfortable, whereas the truth is a cold November rain and a taser to the balls. Finally, remember what was discussed about sources for doing proper research in chapters past. Most websites will feed you the same bullcrap about Lady Liberty that your second grade teacher did. Nothing I just said will be mentioned in these websites or in these trusted sources. You're conditioned to think that that proves me wrong. No, all it proves is you live inside a massive system of control, where even the trusted sources are spouting back the bullcrap that they once spouted. If you run to the New York Times or to CNN to confirm what I just presented, it obviously won't be there. If you use a mainstream source like Wikipedia to counter what I just said, you truly are an idiot and haven't understood a single word that I've read in this book. But for those that haven't been reading the book, there will be hundreds of people that stumble upon this chapter, and they will literally go out to different websites. And because those websites won't mention anything about what I'm talking about, the trusted sites like TimeMagazine.com, because they won't say a thing about it, they'll actually use that as a comfortable little teddy bear to prove that I must be nuts and the world presented to them in second grade is the real deal. Know this: the exercise we just did with the Statue of Liberty can be done with almost everything you consider to be a pillar of American life. Almost everything breaks down when you look at it closely. Reality has been constructed for you by what I would call puppet masters. 100 pages from now, you'll be ready to accept it because the evidence is overwhelming. More importantly, what's really going on will resonate with your inner knowing when you learn to tap into it. Just like what Princess Leia said to Luke about realizing she's his sister. She said, "I know. I've always known. So do you." Well, thanks for listening. I'll wrap up the section with what I said I'd mention, the other interpretations. And I don't have much to say because, one, the other interpretations did not fall in line with my research. When one thing after the other, when I was doing my research, lines up to the sun god, Helios, Apollo, Colossus at Rhodes, Emma Lazarus' poem, the New Colossus, etc. So you have Isis. That's what a lot of smart people would say. It's Isis. You know what? I don't know squat about the Egyptian pantheon of gods and any of that, but I have found that these gods all seem to tie in together. Somehow, there's somewhere probably you could say that Helios and Apollo are all tied together with Isis. That's just been my experience. I'm no expert at it. Other peoples would say, of course, a few people have been screaming at me in this video, I'm sure, that it's Lucifer, the light bearer. If you worked hard enough, could you tie that together with Helios and Apollo? Yeah, I believe you could. It doesn't just mean the devil from the Bible. There's so much more to it, the esoteric or the occult that we don't understand. Sure, I can see how many people would say this represents the light bearer. I mean, the thing is holding up light. Lucifer, the illuminated, the light held above the masses. The masses maybe can't quite get to it. Same as Columbia Pictures. These are all tied together concepts. But I'm saying it's not like three totally different doors, where if you pick, the game show, door number 2, you win the refrigerator and the washer and dryer. Door number 3 is a car, and door number 1's a vacation. They're all separate things. I'm saying there are 3 doors here, 3 interpretations, probably even more, of what the Statue of Liberty really is. And if you worked hard enough, you probably could tie the interpretations together. I don't think they're completely separate things. Thanks a lot.